Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the HurryUp podcast. My name's Anthony. I'm here with my friend Adam.
Hey, guys.
And today we got a pretty good episode for you guys. It was a pretty good week for the Texans and for the Astros, and so we're going to get right into it. Adam?
Really? That's it? You chastised me last week. You know, you don't want to just say, like, hey, like, how's it going?
Look,
how's life?
We had a good game this week, and I want to make sure we get to it, all right?
Okay. So what's your thoughts? Takeaway.
Well, let's catch everybody up on the score, even though you really don't need to. The Houston Texans, that's right, won 57-14.
What?
I know. Surprising, right? I just said that. I cannot believe I just said that.
And this is the team that you picked to win the division?
Look, I stand by what I said if they had Mariota. I did
Are
not.
you having buyer's remorse?
No, I did not expect this to happen, but I stand by what I said. I still think that the Titans are a good team when they have Mariota, and it's unfortunate that he went down. But I'm not upset that Houston set a bunch of records and beat the shit out of a divisional opponent.
Yeah, it was a good game. This is the most points we had scored in franchise history. I thought it was an interesting kind of fact is going into halftime, I don't know if you know this, but I saw on TV we were 19-0 in the Bill O'Brien era when holding a lead at halftime, and now we're 20-0. I just think that's crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think back to the last couple of years. How many times were we actually holding a point advantage going into the half?
I guess, yeah, that's true.
So, what, 20 times? Out of how many games has it been the last... I mean, how many games have we played with him for the last how many years now? So I mean,
3 years, and then plus the few this year.
So, I mean, it's a great stat among many set this week by all the
So
Texas
he plays
players.
about 52 games with us so far. He's coached.
So about a little under half. So that's it's okay. He's been 9-7. He's had a winning season the last couple of years, so he's been doing something right, quote unquote, I guess.
You guess?
Look, I don't know. We haven't been past the playoffs, past the divisional in a while, so.
Yeah. What was your takeaway on the performance of Deshaun?
I think that we have finally found an answer, and I know it's a little early to say that, considering he's only made three career starts. 2 career starts. Anyways, he hasn't played a lot of games, so I know that that's a little early to say, but I think we've finally found somebody we can work with and make our star quarterback. I think we finally found a person.
Yeah. So let me just clarify. You were on the Watson wagon.
I didn't want to jump on the Brock train, but
you did get on that train though at some point.
I was on the caboose and I was ready to jump off at any moment, and I sure took my chance to jump off that train.
Dang,
but
that's cold.
I will say, cold. Look at the dude.
Oh no, I'm not disputing it. I mean, it's the right choice.
I will say that I am on the Watson wagon. I know you're leading it. I know you're up front driving that thing, but I will be right there beside your passenger seat on this one.
Really? Not on the caboose or whatever?
No, I'm right there with you. I saw a lot of things I was happy with out of a young quarterback that will have a ton of time to grow. He reminds me a lot of Mariota and Jameis Winston. Actually, the two kind of fused together. I see Mariota as having more of the leg and running ability than Jameis Winston, even though I know Winston can't do that. And I see him having the type of arm that Winston does, that very powerful, able to do down strikes. There was a couple bullet passes that I was really impressed with by him. So I think he has a very bright future, and I am up there in the passenger seat right next to you.
You know what's just so crazy is that whole game. The biggest takeaway you could take from this is that interception he threw going into halftime. Had he not thrown that, we were knocking on the door. He could have maybe got another touchdown. I like that he has that Russell Wilson, for me, that Russell Wilson factor of he can buy time, he can scramble around the pocket, because we don't have the best offensive line in the league, so it's nice to know that he can buy some time when needed and make the right decision.
Yeah, I like that he can buy the time, and I will say that collectively, the line the last 2 weeks has actually been pretty decent.
Yep.
They've given him a lot of time to throw the ball, and even when they don't and the pocket starts collapsing, like you said, he has that ability to stretch the play out. But they have actually been playing pretty decently the last couple weeks, and that is really going to put a damper on Dwayne Brown, going forward.
We're not seeing Dwayne Brown till next year. We're doing too good right now. I thought another interesting takeaway from the game was Will Fuller's comeback. I think me and you both were pretty surprised to see that he came out, was pretty solid. His hands were good. He came right back into the fold and played a big key role for our offense last week.
Yeah, I was worried about his hands because, of course, that was the thing about him coming out of college is that his hands were terrible, and it definitely shown last year. But during the offseason, he really started to work on those hands, making them a little better, and it shows. Even last game, even though he was out, for a couple weeks, he still came back. And what really impressed me was that how much on the same page Watson and Fuller are, even though they had almost no time together. Because they Watson didn't even play with Fuller because Watson was taking all the second team reps, so he never got
it was
time
also
with
Savage.
Fuller. So there was it was really good connection together. I was really impressed by that. There was a couple plays where he was a little off throwing it to Fuller. I remember that one that was being thrown to the end zone where he kind of just overshot him. But the more they play together, the even more they'll become synced. And this receiving core that looked, not great last year has actually started coming alive now. It's starting to get better and better and better.
Yeah. It was really nice to see that we have a little bit more depth, and it even showed Will Fuller's presence, especially towards the end of that game. Whenever we needed to pick up some downs just to keep the chains moving. I mean, the game wasn't in jeopardy, of course, but because Hopkins was free for the better part of the end of that game, and it was just to the respect of Will Fuller. They didn't want to leave him completely alone, and you can't double team Hopkins without giving Will Fuller the coverage needed. So, Hopkins going to win that one-on-one competition all day long, and he was.
Yeah, it creates this interesting dynamic where, like you said, you have to give Will Fuller respect, and you also have to give DeAndre Hopkins respect. So you have to game plan for both of them. If you double team Hopkins and you leave Fuller open, and Fuller can blow past defenders because he's that fast, and Hopkins, while not being super fast, still has that great ball catching
off the
ability.
line.
Yeah. And really quick off the line. So that's why I said it'll come with an interesting dynamic going forward in the season with this wideout core. Which, besides Bruce Ellington, who of course is a veteran and actually had some pretty decent yardage and picked up some stuff when we needed to. He's that kind of third guy that we need. I think Braxton has slid down to the fourth now, but it's still a very young receiving core that'll all kind of grow together, which makes me really excited for the future.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, last week I hate to admit it, I'm not taking anything from them, but I think that part of the success from our wideouts was the fact that Tennessee is pretty thin in their secondary. Adoree Jackson is probably their best corner, and he was making some mistakes with penalties or whatever you may want to call it, but there definitely wasn't no Jalen Ramsey or whoever on their secondary unit.
No, but if they can do this kind of stuff to a not amazing secondary, then they should be able to put some kind of test up against a really good secondary, and I think we'll get that kind of a test next week with the Kansas City Chiefs because they have actually been doing pretty decently well at containing some offenses. So we'll definitely get that test next week. But it was a very promising kind of game, I think. I mean, you have Will Fuller, who has 2 touchdowns. Hopkins has 1 or 2 touchdowns?
2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
No, I'm sorry. I misspoke.
1.
He only had 1. Yes,
and Lamar had 1 catching touchdown. So I think that it creates this offense it's been juiced up, coming off of a terrible last season where they were just not really fun to watch. They weren't great. It's provided a rejuvenation is what I was trying to say, into this kind of stagnant offense, which I'm really happy to see.
I think something that we hadn't even touched on yet is that last week's performance, we had been touching on form the past couple episodes of our podcast, but Lamar Miller kind of had the breakout game of the season for him. He had 75 yards on the ground, a touchdown in the air, and on the ground. It was nice to see him finally get moving against a team for a change.
Yeah, he's been pretty stagnant, but I think this one is kind of same thing I think I told you last week, is that we really need to focus on that run kind of thing, running plays, because it sets up Watson for that play action and shots down the field. So it's good to see him kind of get rolling too with that. Do we want to switch over to the defense side of the ball? You got anything for the offense left?
No, that was all I had. Yeah, we can move over to defense.
I do have one thing to say about the offense. That crushing injury to who got injured? Who was it?
For the Texans?
Yeah. There was a tight end. It was the tight end, Irving. Irving went out with an injury, I believe.
Okay.
I think that's right. So that's kind of sad if that's what's going down. And then also,
I know who you're talking about. It was Tyler Irvin, the back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
So, and I'll also, before we touch on the defense, because we're going to talk about them a lot too, I want to talk about special teams real quick, because man, did our special teams show up this game.
Yeah, tackling was really solid for us, which isn't something that's always on display for us.
And the return man, who I can't think of his name right now. Can you?
It'll hit me. I don't know. Just keep talking, and then I'll come up with it. But
he had a really good game, a couple really good returns. So that's a real.
Rookie Chris Thompson.
Yep, Chris Thompson. I think he'll mold into a really good return man, and that really boosts up a pretty struggling special teams unit that had a terrible time last year.
Yeah. And it was pretty impressive to see that Leckler, a guy's number that we call pretty often, we didn't call him until like the 3:20 mark in the third quarter.
I'm sure he was really happy about that.
I'm sure.
And I actually wanted to talk about this. I know he didn't play that much, but I kind of want to talk about Tom Savage real quick.
God, he didn't even throw, though.
I am disappointed at even his backup performance. I don't know how hard he was trying. I don't know if he's demoralized. I guess this shows kind of the reason why we decided to go with Deshaun in the first place. But just a not great performance. And now I know that they were handing the ball off and trying to chew up clock when he came in, but you got to do something. There were some key third downs that he just didn't make, and a lot of the same thing we saw a lot of the time is just holding on to the ball for too long.
Yeah, and there's a lot of the factors. Even though you're right. A lot of it was handoffs. He could make those reads at the line of scrimmage. Of course, it gets to a point to where the game's just out of hand. I mean, and he's in the game for a reason if the game's at the point that it was. But he could have audibled out of a play, or could have flipped the play or something. You're right. Whenever he got out, it was a couple of immediate 3-and-outs.
Yeah, so that's not all what I want to talk about the offense. I guess let's move on to the defense now.
Okay. So what'd you think about it? It's pretty impressive holding Mariota and company to 14, but I know it's take it with a grain of salt with Castle, though.
Yeah, I think that there's a grain of salt kind of going into this. But I will say that before Mariota went out, they still did a really good job of containing Mariota and only allowing him to get 14 points through 2 halves, which the way Tennessee offense has been pretty good consistently throughout the last couple weeks, so I'm really impressed by that.
Yeah, and he had to, run around and use his legs to get things going. I mean, 6 for 10, so 60% passing. That's, not bad. But the 2 costly turnovers and the one right out of the gate to Andre Howell to start it off just completely got them in a bit of a funk, I feel. And then the fact that Deshaun was able to back it up right out of the gate and get us the touchdown, get us on the board first, I think was demoralizing to the Titans as a whole. But yeah, I agree. Our defense did a really good job of containing Mariota for the most part. I don't think that if Mariota played the whole game, I think it would have been closer. It wouldn't have been 57-14, but I still think that game was ours for the taking.
Well, we were 14 to 30, 31 by half. I mean, that's a hard deficit to come back.
34-24, and we had the ball first.
That's what it was. So that's a hard deficit to come back, no matter who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one thing that they definitely improved on, which I told you last week is something they need to do, especially at the kind of offense that the Tennessee Titans run, is they needed to fix or focus on their run defense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they definitely did that. DeMarco and the company didn't get almost anything going at all. I mean, DeMarco Murray had 4 yards in this game, and Derrick Henry had 13. No, excuse me, that's receiving. Sorry, I'm looking at receiving. They had way less than did not have a lot. Here we go. 31 yards, DeMarco Murray had, and Henry had 7 yards.
The quarterback that played one half had more yards than Murray.
And I understand some of that is that you're down so much that you need a switch from the running to throwing to try to catch up to try to catch up.
You're playing from behind.
You're playing from behind. But even in the first half, when it was still close, they did a really good job of shutting down both those running backs, and I'm really happy about that.
I know. I totally agree with you. If you told me that DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry would combine for 38 yards to complete the game, and tell me that they combined for 38 yards and in one half Mariota had 39, I would just say that you're completely out of your mind. I didn't expect our run defense to step up the way they did, and I'm not saying that it wasn't possible or couldn't be done, but after, the flashbacks of seeing what Leonard Fournette was able to do against us in that Week 1 matchup, I just wasn't so certain, though, at the same time.
Yeah, it was definitely a question on this defense, but I think they've definitely shored it up. I think they'll be better moving forward. Again, this is hard to kind of judge against Matt Castle. It's very hard to judge where they're going to go from here, but I think that they'll take what they've done here and they're really Rabel will really build upon what he's already kind of started, and even some not no names, but some other people in this defense have really stepped it up. People like Cole and the guy we just signed, Gilchrist, coming away with 2 interceptions, and then Howe, doing the same thing he's been doing the last couple weeks. People are starting to step up.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and just like you said, with Cole being undrafted, and then coming up with that big play there towards the end of the game, just you're right. This whole game for the most part was just about everyone stepping up, and Andre Howell having 2 interceptions, which was just really impressive. This was definitely not a performance that I saw. I mean, me and you both predicted that this would be more of a shootout. And if you told me that only one team would show up to the game last week, I definitely probably wouldn't have guessed it'd be the Texans. But I was definitely pleasantly surprised after this performance.
I was too, and I was actually kind of happy with our secondary. I know, again, we're playing against Matt Castle, but I think that Kareem really kind of stepped it up and is having a really good season, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
And hopefully we get some more people back. We will continue to boost, and I think we'll hopefully have another good, really defensive year. Clowney, Watson, and Merciless Name were not called a lot, but I still think
No.
they made their presence known. And you had to account for all three of them, which kind of allows everybody else to kind of step up and start making plays, which is exactly what needed to happen. I think that's by design, and it's really kind of helped them step up.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And I just want to touch you. You were giving some props to Jackson, but another person I had seen a tweet or whatever that from Pro Football Focus. Believe it or not, Jonathan Joseph is the third hardest cornerback to compete against. No cornerback more than Patrick Peterson leads the league in cover snaps per reception. Then it's Morris Claiborne for the Jets, and Jonathan Joseph surprisingly at third. So that was a stat that I was surprised to see.
Wait,
was I thinking? Go ahead.
Was I thinking of Joseph or Kareem? They're both having good seasons.
No, yeah, Kareem had a great game. No, you were right. No, I was surprised to see that statistic with Jonathan Joseph as well. So just a couple of guys that I've tagged as very weak, and I've given criticism to our secondary as a whole, and then Kevin Johnson, however much longer he's going to be out, another 3 weeks or whatever it is. This was a good week, and just really impressed with Hal too. Just the whole secondary as a whole stepping up.
Yeah, and I'll say this in closing. Yes, this was a blowout. Yes, you had Matt Castle in there, but but the most telling thing about this game was just the amount of first downs from both teams. Do you know the stat, Adam?
Yes. Actually, the Tennessee Titans in 4 quarters had 9 first downs, and the Texans, as an offense, had 7. As a team, sorry. The defense stepped up. As a team, had 7 touchdowns. That's just so remarkable.
I know, and the Texans had 33 first downs.
Like I said, if I was blindfolded and you told me one team did that, I love the Texans to death, but I wouldn't have said that would be us.
No.
I mean, come on. You thought the same thing, right?
Oh, yeah, no. I had us losing this game, so that's just me. I mean, I want to give props to Watson for setting all those records. What is it? The first rookie quarterback to have 4 passing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns.
He tied the rookie record for most touchdowns in a game, and 5 total, with Frank Tarkington, I believe.
So everybody, just an all around great game. Looking forward to next week. We'll talk about that a little more in just a minute. But all around, good game. Hopefully he can do this going forward, and hopefully he can do this kind of offensive stuff going forward into not only this season but seasons to come. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. So that concluded the talk for this week, and let's get into our next segment. Bull Rush. All right. So Anthony, do you want to start off this segment of Bull Rush?
Yeah, I'll start it like I did last week, too. Let's talk about, while we're on the subject of the Titans, they signed Brandon Weeden from free agent, right? Because we cut him. So we don't. So they signed him from free agency to replace Matt Castle because he's Matt Castle, or backing him up. I'm not sure what they're doing. Matt Castle, Weeden. I would take Weeden over Matt Castle personally. But they've signed him to kind of fill the time gap in between Mariota. Do we know how long he's out for?
It's reported that he may even come back next week. It was a hamstring injury, so I don't know if this signing is a third string, or if it's just to back up Castle in the meantime, or if he's going to supplant Castle.
I don't know. It's a very weird situation because, of course, Mariota had his injury last year. So their Titans are worried about him re-injuring himself. And really, if you look at Mariota's last couple seasons, he's been injured every single season, which is
his rookie year.
So that's a real concern for the Titans. So I think they're just trying to shore up that quarterback lineup. But I don't know if Brandon.
Let me ask you this though: do you think any part in this signing was that the game that we blew them out, and do you think any part of the signing was, we're going to sign one of their former quarterbacks? Do you think that had any weight in their decision?
No, because I think Brandon Weeden's probably the best guy out in free agency right now. I'd hate to say that.
You don't think Kaepernick wouldn't have fit the mold? I think he would have fit it really well with Mariota as the same style.
I think he would have fit the mold. I think there's too much negativity around Colin Kaepernick right now with everything going on. Mm-hmm. So I think that besides Kaepernick, which I think is the best free agency out there, he's the best free agent out there. Besides him, I think Brandon Whedon's the best free agent. So I think this was just a way to shore up the defense. Now, do I think Brandon Whedon will take him to the promised land? No. Do I think he'll win them a game? Maybe? I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah. No, I think he's capable of winning a game. Yeah.
I don't know. But it's only a 1-year contract, so it's pretty much just throughout this year. If he has to play, depending how he plays, he may get a backup contract for a year or two. I'm not sure. But, hey, good luck to Brandon Whedon.
I mean, I hope he does. I'm not some Brandon Whedon fanboy, but, I mean, he was pretty solid for us. He was respectable. It'd be cool if we could have kept him on our practice squad at least.
He's respectable, and the Cowboys kind of cut him too early, I think. I think he's an okay backup.
Mm-hmm.
But they are really going to need to rush Mariota back onto the field as fast as possible if they want to keep up with everybody in the AFC South.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
So next, let's move on real quickly to the Jags, who lost in overtime to the Jets due to some very, very poor decision-making and ability from Blake Bortles.
Did you see that?
I did, and Blake Bortles is holding this Jags team captive. If they had any kind of competent quarterback in there, the Jags would be the undecided AFC South champions, I think. Not champions, but...
Do you think Chad Henne's a better option for them?
Oh, God, no. They're both about the same. I think out of Chad Henne and Blake Bortles is definitely the better option right now.
Just because he knows the offense? He's been there longer?
Yeah, and I think he has more talent. And I hate to say that because the word talent and Blake Bortles does not go together. But he has more of an arm talent and a strength than Chad Henne does. I think that Leonard Fournette needs to be the star of that team. And they need to start running the ball with Fournette, run out the clock, keep your offense out there for a long time. And that defense is actually really good. They're good. If they just weren't on the field as much, I think they would be 5 times better than they are now. So I think if they have a game plan going forward, it's going to be rush through Fournette, which they've already kind of done in the last game. It was just some Blake Bortles errors. And not to put everything on Blake Bortles because his wideout core is one of the worst in the league. I think Allen Hurns is his best, and after that, the drop-off is just ridiculous. So
yeah, it is. It's pretty sizable.
They'll definitely need to go and refix some of the wideouts in the offseason. But for now, they are the top of the AFC South, which still pains me to say. But
so let me ask you this, Anthony. Since they beat us and the Jets beat them, are the Jets better than us?
No, the Jets are terrible. They're terrible at everything. They're terrible at offense. They're terrible at defense. They're terrible at tanking to get a quarterback, apparently. But I think going forward, the Jets will lose games. The Jets will definitely lose games. The Jets will lose 5 or 6 games and be out of that first round spot to get their quarterback, like always. But they'll lose games.
What I just didn't understand with that game is that Fournette had just had such a really good game going into overtime. I don't understand the need as to why they felt that Blake Bortles needed to throw the ball as much as he was throwing it. I don't know why they weren't slowing it down a little bit, letting Fournette carry a little more. And I mean, you can attest, you have Fournette on your fantasy team just with how solid he's been this year. I just don't understand what the urgency was. Because both teams had possession 2 or 3 times in overtime.
Yeah, I don't know. That whole game was kind of crazy. That whole overtime was kind of
I mean, Bortles wasn't good, but it seemed like the play calling, just wasn't there either.
No, yeah, like I said, it was a combination. I don't want to put it all on Blake Bortles. But it was just a combined effort to really sabotage what should have been a win for the Jags. which is good for us. I don't want to make it sound, like I'm rooting for the Jags. I'm rooting for certain players on the Jags, but it was very fortunate that they lost. So now that we can kind of be within striking distance of leaping over them, which I think, depending on how long Mariota's out, I think will be the stepping stone to get over.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, we're going to talk about the Colts. They lost. Yeah, they lost. They lost pretty decisively, if I remember correctly. It was just not a great game. Brissett had a good game, but the defense was terrible. And the Seahawks defense really stepped it up after being criticized, and even by me. I've been telling you I didn't think the Seahawks defense was that good this year. They stepped up and were able to beat Indy 18-46, which I think is a pretty decisive victory.
Yep, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a game. The defense just really stepped up. I wonder partly, and I'm not trying to vouch for anyone, I just wonder how much of that is just because Jacoby Brissett was just kind of thrown into the fire. I mean, I don't know. With that score, it's evident that Brissett wasn't going to win the game because the Colts, are just such a poorly run franchise. Their defense is pretty lacking. They can't get any help for Andrew Luck on the line or any weapons. I mean, other than T.Y. Hilton. I mean, their idea of getting him weapons was drafting his college mate Colby Fleener in the same draft. I mean, it's just evident that even with the issues that the owner has had, Irsay, it's just evident that the Colts were carried so much so by Peyton Manning and his greatness, because the past few years after he's left and with Andrew Luck struggling through injury, it's been so bad.
Yeah, I think they'll go into rebuild mode next year. I will say that there was a couple years where Andrew Luck first got drafted where he was looking like it was just going to be from one quarterback to another. But, of course, injury has plagued them. There was actually a report that Andrew Luck is starting to throw in practice, so there's chance that he could be coming back soon, maybe for them, and try to save some semblance of a season they have. But I still think they'll kind of be bottom of the barrel at the AFC South.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. I think, and as much as I hate to say it, I just think the Blake Bortles-led Jaguars are a better team just solely based on their defense, and then the threat that Fournette is to opposing defensive fronts that he can be. I mean, it depends. We're just going to have to see. It is a quarterback-driven league. If Andrew Luck can just go out there swinging it, I mean, I don't see that happening for me personally, but I do agree. I think they're the weakest link in the AFC South.
Well, this year there has been a pretty good surge of quarterbacks who got injured last year and are coming back strong. I mean, you have the case of Mariota and Derek Carr, which I'll admit Derek Carr is not like blowing people away, but he's still having a good season. And then you have Cam Newton, who also went out and is now coming back. He started throwing, and then, of course, they went on to beat the Patriots. So there's been a pretty good track record this year of quarterbacks coming back and doing well coming off an injury. But like you said, we'll have to see how this goes. We still have to play them twice. We haven't played them at all yet this season. So we'll see when we get there. We're currently 1-1 in the division. So I don't want to say it'll be easy pickups for division wins, but hopefully they'll be pretty decent ones we can pick up and start building that kind of credibility in the South.
Do you think after our performance last week do you think just that week one was a fluke, or do you just think that they were just that much better? Do you see that happening again, I guess is what I'm moving towards.
Do I see them scoring 57 points? No. I think Deshaun...
No. I mean, do you see the Jaguars, like, when we face them? Like, because they're the team that's beaten us so far in the AFC South.
I think that it won't be like that. I think that we will look at that game, look at the film, and I think by the time we face them again, we'll be a wholly different team. I think a lot of that was... everything with the hurricane going on, and everybody was kind of, in that whole mind space. And I think also the decision to keep Tom Savage out there really kind of sabotaged that first game. I think if you have Deshaun in there, with what we've seen, you either win that game, and I mean in there, I mean like the whole entire time. The whole entire time.
No, I get you.
And I think we win that game. I think it's evident looking at the last couple games that Deshaun has played that when you have Bill O'Brien, when you're able to plan for a team the whole entire week and you can specifically go in and look at one guy, he can have a really, really great game. So I think if you would have had that time to prepare as Deshaun as your starter and prepare for a team the whole week and prepare Deshaun specifically the whole week, I think that game goes a totally different direction. And I think you'll see that when we face the Jags coming back around.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. No way to put that.
So Adam, we got a game coming up on Monday night.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a nail biter. It's going to be a true testament. It's going to be our biggest test that we've had. It's the best defense that we're going to see that we've seen so far this year. It's going to be a good one. We had a big task at hand with having to stop DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. We're just going to have to make sure that we can slow down Akeem Hunt, who's been pretty solid. Even last game against the Redskins wasn't as explosive as he's been. He's still got over 100 yards rushing.
That fourth quarter, he really started picking it up.
Yeah, he did. So it's just gonna have to see if we can put a stop to him. It's gonna be interesting to see the defensive looks that we give Travis Kelce, and it'll be an interesting matchup. What's your take?
It will be a test of a defense because I think that the Kansas City offensive power is actually really good. Alex Smith is having a season. Alex Smith is having a season. I think that his whole offense is doing really well. So it'll be a gigantic test for this defense. Like you said, stopping Hunt. I've been stressing the last 2 weeks about stopping the run, because it feels like it's been a really run heavy kind of year. Besides a few teams that are being able to throw the ball around like the Patriots and us and a few others, it's definitely feel like it's been a more running back heavy season. So I think you've really got to put the emphasis on stopping the run this game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's something that me and you have talked about off air is that we're just definitely going to need a game plan because the field general for the Chiefs with Andy Reid is just such a mastermind as far as being creative and coming up with these read options or whatever it takes, because Alex Smith, he's not the best quarterback in the league, but he's a very versatile quarterback. He can get up, he can run. I mean, me and you were both watching the Redskins Monday night game, and there was one play where he just broke off and then got body slammed like he was on WWE. And I mean, he's just a very versatile quarterback. He's not a pocket passer. He'll get up, make space, buy some time. So we just got to make sure that we can get pressure to him, and when we do, make him pay for the times he does escape the pocket.
I agree. And on the offensive side of the ball, I think there's going to be more stress of both running and passing. I think the Kansas City defense is pretty good in both areas, either stopping the run and stopping the pass. So it's going to be about Bill O'Brien really coming up with really creative plays for Deshaun and the whole offense, and really digging into the playbook and trying to figure stuff out, because I mean, like I said, they're good at stopping the run, they're good at stopping the passing. It's going to be a test for both units, I think. All three units, actually, including special teams.
Yeah. Do you think that, and I didn't even go back on this, but when you had mentioned about Tyler Ervin being knocked out of the game with injury, do you think that the performance that we saw from Chris Thompson when he does return, do you think that we kind of move him more into that return man role? Because he had an impressive 45-yard-ish return against the Titans. Do you see him maybe making more of his way onto the scenes? Because Ervin, not only is he not been the greatest return man, but he hasn't had the greatest hands at times though either.
Yeah, I don't like Ervin back there in the back. And Ervin, I looked it up. He is actually he actually came back. He's going to play this game. He's not out or anything. And also the one 45-yard that he got returning, not Ervin, the other guy, Thompson. That was the only one he did. He had one return for that many yards.
Well, I mean, they got 2 touchdowns, and one of them was kickoff. So yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So it's only one play. I had to. I'm really impressed by that one play. What I saw, I'll have to see more to get an.
I think I even
judgment.
like Will Fuller more though as a return man. It's just one of those things we just don't want to risk injury, especially when he means so much to our receiving core.
And especially after he's already got injured. Yeah, I would put Will Fuller back there at the same thing. Irvin's hands has just not been there at times. His decisions to either take the ball out or spotting it has been spotty at best. So I will put Thompson back there. Now, whether I'm going to make a judgment call of whether he's going to be the return man, I'll wait because I want to see more of him. Because like I said, he only had one return. That one return was amazing. But I want to see more. That way I can make a judgment call. So get back to me in a couple weeks, and I'll tell you whether he's going to be the guy or not.
Okay. Another guy that I didn't even touch on too, and he's going to play a vital role for us this week is Kaimi Fairbairn. We kept him in place of Nick Novak. He's been really, really solid. He's been a perfect, I believe, 9 for 9 on his field goals.
No, he missed one.
No, that his extra point, but I mean the field goals.
Yeah.
That was pretty disappointing. He missed the extra point, but that's the only thing he's missed so far. I feel like in this game where it's a battle of the defenses, that this is just going to be one where he's very important. I mean, it may even come down to a game winner. What's your review or grade of how Fairbairn's been for us? Because he had that impressive 50-yard field goal that it looked like he could have even made that 55, 60 yards right down the middle.
I'm leaning like B+, A-.
Okay. Do you like that we kept him over Novak?
Yeah, Novak, I mean, you said it before. Novak just doesn't have the accuracy. No, leg.
He has the accuracy.
Yeah, it was leg. He just doesn't have the leg. He wouldn't have made that 50-yarder. He even misses a lot of 40-yarders. So I think that I like Fairbairn. He is young, so he'll kind of grow with this offense. And if we can keep him around, and he kind of keeps at the same level, he'll kind of grow with everybody else. I like him. There's no other way to say it.
Because kickers don't really move around too much around this league, so it'd be awesome if we could find our own Adam Vinatieri or Matt Bryan or Justin Tucker, whoever, just that guy that's going to stay around for years and years to come, especially when I think he's like 24 or something. He's really, really young.
Yeah, he'll be really, really good for our organization moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he can be what Fat Randy was supposed to be, but wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just move on from Fat Randy. Going quickly into some other Houston news. We'll talk about the Astros real quick.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Well, I mean, this is it. This is what the whole 162 games has been culminated down towards. Trade pickup Justin Verlander has been told that he's going to be the guy for Game 1, and Dallas Keuchel's going to follow suit in Game 2. It'll be an interesting matchup. I mean, I can't fault AJ Hinch. You would think that Keuchel would have got the nod for Game 1, especially since it's been his team. He's been around. But Justin Verlander has just been so hot for us in these past 4 or 5 starts. His ERA is just a tad over 1. So it'll be impressive. The Red Sox are sending out Chris Sale, who's really good in his own right. I believe he leads the league in strikeouts. So we're just going to have to see. Hopefully our offense can step up. And even if Sale does slow us down, hopefully we can get to their bullpen.
Well, do you think they would want to put Verlander in because give him the nod because of the season he's had at the end, and then rest Keuchel up because for the second game where it may matter to get out to a 2-0 lead.
Oh yeah.
So that way he's more important to get that 2-0 stretch, not the 1-1 stretch, and have that kind of commanding lead.
Oh, yeah, no, I see your logic. Yeah, is to just really get a stranglehold on the series. That is true. I mean, this is a good issue to have. Don't get me wrong. It gives us one of the best 1-2 punches in baseball. So, I I'm just hopefully it pays dividends. The offense needs to show up as well, though, because they have a couple of good pitchers on their staff. So we'll just kind of see how it boils down to. But it is in Houston to start off, so it'd be awesome if we could win first couple games and retain home field advantage. But I mean, stranger things have happened, so we'll see. But the Astros have proven they're a team that can also win on the road, though, as well.
Yeah. What do you think this overall? I know we're probably going to talk about it more later on, a couple weeks from now. But what do you think? Where do you see this game going, as far as like scores or like wins?
Well, the divisional series is a best of 5, so it's just first one of 3. If I had to call the Red Sox series, I'd say I'm rolling with the Astros, not just because they're my team, but I do believe they have more depth as a whole. I do like the Red Sox bullpen maybe a bit more than ours because sometimes it can be a bit shaky, but I like our lineup more. I like our defensive outfield, infield. We're really good about not giving up too many errors. I'd say the Astros in 4. I'm sure the Red Sox will steal 1. I don't see a sweep as nice as that'd be.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way the Astros season has been going, I think it would be disappointing if it didn't culminate in anything less than a World Series. Of course, that's every year, but just the kind of amazing season they've been having, I think it would be disappointing to culminate in anything less.
Oh, yeah. I mean, winning 101 games, that's the second highest mark in franchise history. I mean, it would be a disappointment, to say the least, for sure, especially after all the money they've invested in the offseason. You'd like to see it pay off. So, I mean, it all boils down to Thursday, and hopefully they can come out swinging and get off to a good start.
And now let's end on a pretty low note, I'm going to be honest. I probably should have switched these around like the script says, but the Rockets win in preseason, because that's really important and that really matters, against the Thunder. I'm not sure what the actual score was, but it
was
doesn't
like
really matter.
104-97. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. It was impressive to see just kind of how things would go and see how Chris Paul and James Harden would mesh. In the very first possession for the Thunder, actually, Chris Paul steals the ball and then hands it to James Harden wide open for the 3, literally like 10 seconds into the game. So it was kind of cool to see that 1-2 punch just to start off the game with a bang. Of course, you're right. The game means absolutely nothing. It's just kind of nice to see how we match up with, the splash that OKC has made with Carmelo Anthony, with getting Paul George, and then, already retaining Russell Westbrook, and especially more so after that Supermax that he signed. But this is going to be, the Rockets as a whole, I feel, are a better team. This is going to be one of the harder teams that we're going to have to face 3 or 4 times in the season. So it's nice to see how we match up against them.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that they will have a very, very challenging and really a benchmark game. The first series, or the first game of the year against Golden State. So it's going to be a hard start to a season, but we'll see where it goes. And like you said, the Rockets have made a little bit of a splash themselves, so we'll see how everybody kind of meshes together going forward.
Yeah, and just one more thing, to move away a little bit from the Astros and Rockets. One thing that we didn't do, and we usually do, is we got to move back. We've got to make some predictions for this Chiefs-Texans game.
Oh,
who you
right.
got?
We didn't predict.
No, it slipped my mind too. I just want to make sure before we signed off.
Well, like I am in the Watson wagon, and I am a Houston homer.
A Houston homer? Since like 4 days ago?
So I'm going to predict, as usual,
a
Kansas City win.
Oh, come on.
No, I just think that they have more offensive power, and their defense probably will step up against us. Now they've been game planning. I know it doesn't matter a lot, but hopefully that Monday night game, that one more day of rest we had, will help us out. But I just see a Kansas City game and a very close offensive or defensive battle, like you said, and a real kicking game. I could see the game going. And the Kansas City Chiefs have not have high-scoring games, really, except for that first one against the Patriots. So I could really see it being a 24-21 victory for the Chiefs.
Yeah. I like the score around the ballpark. I agree. It's not going to be no high scoring game. It's a couple of defensive super teams coming and facing off, for lack of a better word. But this is really going to be Deshaun Watson's biggest test to this point. I mean, he's already had a couple with the Patriots, but he's here on prime time again.
Yeah, I would differ that the Patriots were the biggest test, but
Yeah, but that's an afternoon game. No one's really watching, and to be honest, no one was really expecting anything either. We've already seen Watson come out and play decently a couple weeks in a row. I feel like from a pressure standpoint, I feel like this might be the most difficult game for him. And not only this, but this Chiefs defense is so much better than the Patriots. So
yeah, the Patriots defense there's a problem there. So I guess I would agree that this would maybe be a better test.
It's going to be interesting to see. He's really good at scrambling around, buying time. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that as well. But he can't be foolish. They have a good secondary. They got Marcus Peters. They got Eric Berry. A couple of other guys, but this is definitely a game that it's a true testament for him. And this is a very beatable, undefeated team. I really could see us walking out with a win. I'm going to go with us getting the win. Like you, I see this being a fairly low-scoring game. I see us winning 21-17.
Nice. I could see that. Adam, I pick another team just because if we do win, it's a really good feeling.
If you want the rest of the year, I'll pick us and you pick them on the way out and we can win. Hey, I have no issues with that. I'll never call you out.
Yeah, you will. Don't get
me. I mean, I totally will.
Yeah, you will. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to this podcast. Adam, you want to tell them about all our stuff?
Yeah, thanks for the support, guys. We recently were accepted for iHeartRadio, so that's pretty exciting. So whatever venue you're listening to us on, we really appreciate the support. But go ahead and follow us on social media. We're at Twitter at _HurryUp. We're trying to get a bigger following. Like us on our Facebook page at the HurryUp, and just keep it rolling, guys. I mean, we really appreciate the support. The past couple of days is some of the more success that we've had recently, so it's really awesome. We're just trying to grow as a whole.
Yeah, and if you got suggestions for us for like segments or things you want to hear about, hit us up on Twitter and our Facebook page because we'd really like to hear that, some feedback. Other than that, thanks you guys for listening.
Yeah, thanks guys. Bye.